In this video, we're going to be talking about how to overcome your insecurities. Now, this will not save everyone. I think a certain level of your own willpower can help, but this will boost your chances. So I just want to focus on one simple mindset shift. And what it is to realize that your insecurity is not that great, and everyone has their own insecurities. Now, this may seem simple, but let's look at it from a deeper level with examples, because I think something as broad as that doesn't help. But if you look at it specifically with really insightful examples, it can really just shift your mindset. So for a great majority of my life, I would say one possible mindset block for me was the fact that I was Asian, and therefore I was in like a deep minority. I mean, unless you live somewhere where there's like tons of Asians, which is possible, but for me, it wasn't necessarily the case. And therefore, I thought that this was one of the major blocks. Oh, Asian. Whereas over time, I've realized that, guess what? There's plenty of people who don't have this block at all, and they have their own problems. You know, there's plenty of people who are white or black who have their own issues. They're insecure because maybe they're not the tallest in the room. Maybe they're insecure because they were the nerdy white kids, or they were the nerdy black kids. Or I've seen this specifically. There have been people who have been insecure because they didn't have the best education, or they were born with a little bit of a physical disability. Maybe they had a little hearing problem and they had a hearing aid, or maybe they have a small little thing that's different about them. Maybe they have diabetes and they have to carry something around with them, or whatever else. And what really shocked me was when I saw people that they came from all the right families and stuff. Their parents were educated, successful, wealthy, all this stuff, and you know, a small thing really just screwed them over. So at least that's what they assume. A great example would be Napoleon Hill. He was very successful, and later in life he became wealthy, and he's known for studying some of the wealthiest people in the world, hundreds of them, in person for 20 plus years, and writing books on what he found. And his son was born with a physical ailment. His ears were a bit deformed and he couldn't hear. And so what's incredible about his son was that, and this is decades ago, so it's crazy how millions of people still don't follow this. Millions are negative and so insecure. Whereas this guy, decades ago, he already learned how to do it right. So he, probably also because he was influenced by his father, but he never gave up, and he looked at his disadvantages as advantages. So rather than being, complain about these things, he constantly looked to improve his hearing, even though the doctors told him every single month to give up. For many years, he kept trying until eventually he restored part of his hearing through physical hearing exercises, and then restored the rest when technology finally caught up. What's more impactful and incredible is that when he went out into the world, he looked at his disadvantages as advantages. Rather than saying, I'm going to be excluded or left out or not picked when we're deciding who goes on which team for a sports team, or I'm going to be isolated because I look weird, he said, you know what, I'm going to use my disadvantages to a strength. I will use this as an advantage because guess what? People will look at me a little bit better because of them. He owned his insecurities. He said, you know what? People are going to treat me a little bit better because they see that ear pack. And therefore, I will have an advantage when I'm interviewing for jobs that I apply to. I'll have advantages when I'm selling stuff to other people. And I will have that advantage because people will give me the more time of day. And I'm going to use that. Rather than being mopey and complain about stuff, he changed his mindset. And it's incredible because I have a lot to learn from this guy. And it's incredible how most of the world is. So I think one thing is to start surrounding yourself with the right type of people. The next thing would just be let's just pick on two: nerdiness and height. So nerdiness is just one of those things where, guess what? It doesn't care what culture or ethnicity you are. There are people who are white who are nerdy, and maybe they're geeky and slim, and they don't look super awesome, and yet for whatever reason, some of them go on to embrace that and own it and succeed, while others, partially because society kind of pushes into it and tells them that it's not right, or they have peers that tell them this, they're kind of isolated. But that doesn't have to be the case. A 4-year snapshot of high school is not your entire life. You have so much more beyond that to look forward to, and it's just a small community and a small time frame. So that's one thing. And then the last thing would be height. And height is one of those that it can be one of those things where no matter what, it's like the endless scale of insecurity, because it's one of those things to constantly lean on out of the many out there. And that's really sometimes what the deeper core issue is for certain people. Not always, but sometimes it is for you. So you want to explore that in yourself. Is the real core issue the fact that you're constantly looking for things to be insecure about? You're constantly looking towards specific things to use as a crutch. And it's not the fact that, oh, if you fix this one thing, it'd be okay. It's the fact that no matter what is fixed, even if you could magically wish it away, it would never be okay for some other deeper reason. And height is one of those things, because you get people who are like 4 foot tall and they're like, this sucks. And then you get people who are 5 foot tall and they're like, this sucks. And then you get people who are 6 foot tall and they're like, oh, you know what? It's just the fact that I'm 2 inches too tall. If I was just 2 inches shorter, I just stick out like a sore thumb because I'm too tall. And then you get up higher and it's just too tall. That's why girls don't like me. And then it's just like endless cycle. And it's like, where is it perfect? So arguably, yes, I think there are certain society standards that kind of mix things up. But if you look at some of the most successful, inspiring people that a lot of individuals respect, that have done a lot of great things, when you really look at them, they are not perfect. Whether it's Barack Obama or anyone impactful that you respect. Maybe they don't have the most handsome face. Maybe it's the fact that they don't have the best jawline. They're not as tall as you would think the ideal is, but they've overlooked that. And there's this weird psychological mob tendency where once they get to a point where they've done that and they have that reputation, or they're famous and stuff, people start like warping their perception of them, and they're like, no, that's not true. They are perfect. Man, they have the perfect height, the perfect body, everything. And it's like, no, that's not true. They don't, and it's quite clear that you just very much warped by the fact that they're famous. And the point of that statement is to show you that, guess what? Things can easily be overlooked. Sometimes they can very easily be overlooked. Quite frankly, you and me, we would probably much rather hang around someone who's funny and smart and you can be comfortable around, rather than someone who's arrogant, a prick, really mean to you, but is super handsome. Like, who cares if they're handsome? First off, you're straight, so you don't look at them that way. But more often than that, certain qualitative traits will really shape you more. And so I think that's really important. And I think it's a very incredible thing, because for everyone else, 99% of the world, including me, including us, that is stuff that we can work on improving. Maybe we can't really, change our height unless we use like plastic surgery or something, but rarely is that really going to improve much at all. And more so than that, there's plenty of other qualitative stuff that you can work on improving. Having said that, though, there's stuff that you should not avoid to extremes. You should still work on your health, your body, your physique. You should still go to the gym because it's good for your energy levels, your well-being, and arguably it still helps you increase your chances of looking better. I mean, let's just be frank. If I didn't shower in 2 months, which is fine because I've only not showered in 1 month, which is okay. I haven't hit the 2 month threshold yet. But if, let's just say I didn't shower in 2 months and I dressed in garbage bags and I went outside, people wouldn't like me. And I'm just kidding. I did shower. It hasn't been a month since I've showered. Only 3 weeks. Anyhow, the point is just work on certain things and improve them, and realize that it's not all these things that are unchangeable. Stop focusing on the things that are unchangeable, because rarely are they the only things that you can improve, and rarely are they the end all be all of how you're going to do. Just breathe.